Nobody is really going to admit this stuff, but I'm not ashamed because that's who I was. Hey YouTube, this is Create Her Image, Becoming a Proverbs 31 Woman. My name is Janetta and I am the host of this channel. In today's video, I am going to talk about how quitting social media actually saved my life. I'm just going to start off by talking about who I was, and then we'll go into who I am now. So the quitting of the social media actually took place in 2020. So around COVID, when COVID first started, I ended up letting go of Facebook first. It was just like a knowing in me to just like delete the Facebook. And so I ended up doing like a temporary deleting of the Facebook. And then in 2021, I ended up deleting my Instagram. And so I stopped getting on there, like deleting the app, and then it turned into deleting the actual account. And so it was like I just knew that it was the right thing to do. And so after doing it, I ended up really diving into getting to know God. And it was like I had so much more time to get to know God after deleting all of the social media. So who I was before, let's get into that. So before deleting the social media and having my whole like rebirthing in Christ, I had very poor character, I would describe it. Of course, I'm not that anymore, so I don't have any shame, because God gets all the credit. And let me make that disclaimer. All glory goes to God. This is not, me lifting myself up. I could not have gotten to where I am today without Jesus Christ, who is my Lord and Savior. And yeah, he definitely did a work in my life. So let's get into it. So the first thing was I experienced brain fog. When I was on social media, I experienced a lot of brain fog. I was very unmotivated. I just didn't have any drive. At the time, I was trying to get into medical school. I was doing, I had just graduated from my master's program, which was going to get me into a medical school program. And then it was just like COVID came, and then like everything just stopped. But that was like the best thing that could have happened to me, because that's when like all these changes kind of started. I also was very impatient, and I had this weird like filter on my perception, and it was like this knack for instant gratification. I wanted things to happen immediately. Things that should take, months, weeks. I wanted them to happen immediately. Like, I even tried to open up a business, and I was like wanting it to like take off in a matter of weeks. And I'm like, I don't even know. Looking back on it now, I'm just like, what? I wanted it to take off in a matter of weeks. I didn't give myself any like time. It was just like, I want this now. And so I had that pretty bad. I had poor self-image. It doesn't matter how many times a person says you're beautiful, you're fine, you're this, you're that. If you don't believe that, if you don't have that in you to start with, whatever they're saying is just lip service. And so I found myself in that space. And so I just had a poor self-image, and I was plagued by a spirit of jealousy. I would look on Instagram, I would see, people happy and doing all this and doing all that. And I would be jealous. And I'm not ashamed to admit it. I would be in a jealous space. And at the time, I didn't understand it to be jealousy. But looking back on it now, I do understand that version of myself was not the healthiest. And while I'm seeing everybody be healthy, I couldn't help but to have like a comparison of it. And that's another thing that I'm going to lead into is I had trouble with comparing my life to what people had on Instagram. And I wasn't taking into account that people are only going to show you what they want you to see on Instagram. I was ignorant to that fact at the time. I was very ignorant to that fact. I knew that people were showing good times and all that stuff, but I just didn't have the understanding that every single person on this earth is struggling. Everybody. It doesn't matter who you are. And, we all have a mind, will, and emotions. And whether you're struggling in your mind, whether you're struggling in your emotions, whether you're struggling in your will to do something, we're all struggling, and so, of course, now I have that understanding, but at the time, I just didn't have it. I had no growth. I was experiencing absolutely no emotional growth. I was not experiencing any growth in my career path. Like I said, I was going to go to medical school. I was on my way. I was doing applications and getting ready to take the MCAT. But it was just like every time I would try to like sign up for the MCAT, it's like it was like this feeling of dread. And every time I would like go to fill out an application, or I'm doing shadow, it was e-shadowing at the time that I was doing. It was like a dread. And I was like, why do I dread this process so much? And so later on, I finally realized that it just wasn't my path. But at the time, it was like I was forcing a too small shoe on my foot. And I was just like fighting it. And so that was leading to no growth. I wasn't operating in my purpose. And I also wasn't experiencing any like growth as far as like, just learning lessons, learning. It's like I wasn't learning. And I just came out of my program, and that was a struggle, which it shouldn't have been a struggle. But again, I wasn't operating in my purpose. And so taking a break from that, it was like, I'm not learning anything. And if you're not learning anything, you're not growing. And so I wasn't learning in that time. I lacked in self-love and self-acceptance. So I wasn't accepting my failures. I wasn't accepting the way I felt. I wasn't accepting my body. I wasn't accepting my hair. I wasn't accepting, the way that I am. I wasn't accepting that. I was trying to improve. I was always trying to improve and improve and improve and improve. And I was always in a state of, I need to be better. And it was just no grace. It was no mercy. It was no, acceptance of who I am right in this moment. How do I feel right in this moment? I was very judgmental to myself, and therefore I was very judgmental to other people. I was very critical of other people. And so I wasn't allowing myself to be empathetic. I wasn't allowing myself to show somebody grace because I wasn't allowing myself to do it to myself. So I couldn't even give it to anyone else. I participated in gossip. I was gossiping, and at the time I was still in ignorance. I didn't understand that even listening to someone, not edifying someone else, but yet criticizing a person is still gossip. And then even participating in the criticism is gossip. And that was what I was doing. And so God definitely changed that. Dishonest. I was dishonest. I was dishonest with myself. I was stuck in self-deception, and I had to realize God actually revealed to me what self-deception is. And so then I started to realize, oh man, I've been self-deceiving. It's almost like God just had me on this journey of learning what I was doing, recognizing it in myself, and then changing the behavior. And so, yeah, I was very dishonest to myself, and therefore it was hard for me to be honest with other people. Attention seeking. So the attention seeking was in regards to me posting a picture and wanting all of these likes. I want people to like the stuff that I have on. You know what I mean? I want people to want the stuff that I have on. That type of thing. Also, I was operating from a very masculine place. I have been independent for a very long time. I've been emotionally independent for a very long time. And then being financially independent and things like that. Like when you've been in that place for too long, especially emotionally independent, you can start operating from a masculine place. And so that was a huge thing for me. I had to learn what operating from a masculine place for a woman looked like. Then I had to recognize it in myself, and then I had to God really correct the behavior. That's the order that he was putting me in. Literally, I was in soul rehab because he really just changed everything for me. But yeah, so the masculine energy was it came from not really understanding how to talk to men, not really understanding men, and not understanding, more importantly, not understanding me, and not understanding what a woman is from God's perspective and what a woman does from God's perspective. I was too immersed in what the culture said a woman was. What, in my family did a woman look like? What did a woman speak like? What did a woman, do? And so I had to literally unlearn all of that. This just unlearning everything. And correcting that, because I was walking in such a masculine role. I was walking with such a masculine vibe. And it was, me, not wanting help, or me just being like, forget these men and da 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 da, out of a hurt heart. And so God had to come in and once again clean that all up. And so now I walk in what I've always meant to walk in, which is in my femininity. And I've always been a feminine woman. That's the thing. It's just after being hurt and after being, just after being hurt and not being treated well by men, you can come out of those situations being very bitter and being very masculine, especially if you pay your own bills, and you've always been this independent woman, and you always, had your own stuff, and you have all these degrees, and you're doing this and you're doing that, and you have a car, you have all this stuff, it can really be deception. It can really be a deception. And that's what it was for me. So then, so like I told you guys before, 2020 was when I got off of Facebook. And then 2021 was when I got off of Instagram. And I had been off Instagram for a whole year and some months. And so that completely changed me, because it changed me in the aspect of it allowed more room for God in my life. And so that's one thing I noticed about God is like, he's not going to bogart in your life. He is going to wait very patiently for you to invite him on in. He is like the perfect gentleman. And that's exactly what happened. Like, I ended up he beckoned me to get off social media. That was all him, because I wouldn't have never gotten off of social media. But he put it in me to get off social media. And then that's when the whole 360 came. Because after leaving social media, it was like I had more time to think. I had more time to read my Bible. I had more time to pray. I had more time to just be in my moment. I had more time to sit in silence. I had more time to get in touch with my body, and to recognize that my body had trauma still living in it. I had more time to clear all of the fog. I had more time to just invest in God. And so one thing that God was really working on in my life was my relationships, cleaning up my relationships. And that's something that he really, really, really was focused on in my life. And so for me, it was like I was so out of alignment with God that I was so out of alignment with myself, and I was so out of alignment with other people. And so you got to make sure that you are in alignment with Christ first, then in alignment with yourself, then in alignment with other people. Also, what I consumed became a focal point in my life. I lost the taste for secular music. I used to listen to Megan Thee Stallion. I used to, you couldn't tell me nothing. I used to be so in love with her music. I used to bump that all the time. After getting on social media, after having this whole transformation, I wouldn't dare bump the content of the music. Is junk for my brain. It's not good for me. It's not good for me. And so I stay completely away. It's junk for my soul, and I got to stay away from it. I need more nutritious consumption. And so, being very picky with what I consume, being very selective with the information that I take in, that became more important to me as I got closer to God, as I got in my Bible and started to consume that. The Bible became really the bulk of my information diet. I started to really, really, really gravitate towards reading that. And then I started to, understand myself. I started to understand God more, and I started to understand myself. And God just started to reveal things about myself that I had forgotten. He started to reveal things about me that I didn't even know. And that's when I started to understand what my true purpose was. And it was easy for me to let go of that dream of being a physician, because I then knew, okay, that's not my calling. My calling is this. So now I can operate in this, because my calling was something that I have always operated in. I just didn't see it. Another thing that that really changed was I started to tap into my creativity a lot more. Like, I started to get creative with my clothes, and I started to purge out my closet and just get rid of stuff that just didn't fit with me and this new identity now that I have just been reborn in Christ. And so I'm just like, I'm getting rid of that. And it was just so easy to get rid of it. I'm just like, I'm tossing this out. And then it was so easy for me to develop my own style based off of, who God said I was, based off of the woman that I knew God wanted me to be. It was like, oh, this is who I am. This is what a woman is. This is who I'm called to be. Okay. This is what I think this woman would dress like. And so I started to really have an imagination again about, about God, about my life. I started to have an imagination about, my style. I started to have an imagination about just everything. And it was just like a part of me that I felt I hadn't tapped into for a very long time just came alive again. And I hadn't felt it since I was a kid, just this freedom to express myself, this freedom to just like be who I am, this freedom to just operate in who God sees me. And when you walk in what God sees you as, and when you walk in who God created you to be, you don't feel depression. You don't feel, you don't feel sadness. You don't feel pressure. You don't feel urgency. You don't feel stressed. You feel free. You feel really, really free. And so that's what ended up happening for me. It's like this newfound freedom to just walk in my creativity, because that's who I am. I am a creative person, and I've always been a creative person. And that's what he showed me. He's like, this is you. This has always been you. You just didn't have the time. You didn't have the mind to even really walk into it. You didn't know all the possibilities that could come out of walking in who you really are, what you really do. And so him revealing to me, like, this is what I want you to do. This is what I created you to do. Like, I didn't create you to do that other stuff. I didn't tell you to do that. That was them. This is what I've always wanted you to do. This is why you've always really done it low key. You just didn't know to what extent it could go to. And so that's really, what he revealed to me. After letting go of social media and having that time to be with Christ and having that focus on him, he developed me in my focus. He developed me in my self-awareness. My emotional IQ increased. My ability to be honest and completely authentic increased. I didn't have a taste for gossip. I didn't have a taste for secular music. I didn't have a taste for, I didn't feel that. I didn't feel jealousy. Like I don't have, I'm not attention seeking. I don't care if people don't like me. I don't care about any of that stuff. I don't need to be jealous of anybody else, because I know who I am. Like I know what I'm called to do. This is what I'm called to do. I don't need to do anything else. I don't need to have anything else. I know this, and this is what I'm supposed to do. And so it's just freedom. It's just complete freedom. I can't explain it anymore. I no longer walk in a masculine energy. Like, having the relationship I do with my husband, I'm free to walk in my femininity. I'm just free to walk in my femininity. And so that is just so freeing, because it's just like, that's a whole nother topic of discussion that we'll have to talk about in another one of these chats. But I'm just saying that, I'm such a feminine woman now, and I don't have to operate in a masculine role. my husband, he got me, he has me. And so, and more importantly, God got us. It's so freeing. Tremendous growth. Like when you start to focus on God, you start to grow. Like when you stop giving the world so much attention, when you stop giving other people's lives so much attention, you start to become better. You start to, and you got to focus on God. When you focus on God, you start to become healthier. Like your soul becomes healthier, because anybody could stop looking at social media and go to the gym, and yeah, they'll become healthier physically, but your soul is more important. Your mind, your will, and your emotions become healthier. And so that's what ended up happening.